Hello, I'm Willie from the Ozarks, and we are ready for our April the 28th lesson in A Course in Miracles workbook for students. We're reading from the original edition, lesson 118, which is a review of lesson 105 and 106. 105 being God's peace and joy are mine, and 106 being let me be still and listen to the truth. God's peace and joy are mine. For morning and evening review, say God's peace and joy are mine. Today I will accept God's peace and joy in glad exchange for all the substitutes which I have made for happiness and peace. Wow, let's quit worshiping idols. Let's not have substitutes for happiness and peace. Let's follow the Holy Spirit's guidance and love our neighbor as ourselves, which our Master told us to do 2,000 years ago. Now He's given us a lot of good information on how we can do that very thing and to let us know how to do it. God's peace and joy are mine. And lesson 106 review, let me be still and listen to the truth. Can we just slow down and be still and listen? Let mine own feeble voice be still, and let me hear the mighty voice of truth itself. Assure me that I am God's perfect Son. Let me be still and listen to the truth. Listen to that again. Let my own feeble voice be still. Let all your thoughts just be still. And let me hear the mighty voice of truth itself. Let me hear the mighty voice of truth itself. Assure me that I am God's perfect Son. You're created perfect, just like God created you. Still you are. On the hour, say God's peace and joy are mine. And on the half hour, let me be still and listen to the truth. Let's go take a look in our text reading. We're in chapter 17, Forgiveness and Healing. We're ready to start section 7, Practical Forgiveness. Practical forgiveness. I'm sitting down here on what I call St. Diane's Creek. That's what my kids and I have always called it ever since her mom left this world back in '92. We've kind of called it St. Diane's Creek in honor of her. We spread her ashes right here where I'm sitting. And over here where you see those rocks piled up is where we actually threw the ashes out into the water. There was an ash tree right there, right over here beside it. And that got washed out in a big rain just recently. Big ash tree. And now, this bank, I think, would end up not washing so bad. You know, I'm just looking at all the devastation that I think is actually caused by letting too many animals graze the woods. And just poor management for centuries. So I want to try to do something about it. And I was told by someone who seemed to know that if I could get this bend out of here that's kind of been created, that washes. When that water comes around the edge, it's washing this. Well, right where I'm sitting is where a lot of gravel bars been deposited. I'm going to take this gravel here and put it over on that side of the creek, and I'm getting ready to do that. And hopefully get the channel of this creek back to where I'll be sitting in it. And keep it off of that side and maybe get some new plants planted and try to hold that. But I've just been watching the way that the creeks wash out. And, you know, we need to make this a major point of concern for our children and their children, that we quit wasting our earth, getting it washed away. We need to learn to manage this, and I think the idea is with plant life. So I'm really busy looking for different plants that will do well in the shade, and might as well get things that we can eat, because that's something that's necessary. And we've been talking about the gooseberries, and that was a Ribes uva-crispa, and I told you a little bit about it. But I want to go a little deeper on it. these gooseberries have more significant fruit than other currants that can be eaten underripe. So currants and gooseberries are all of the ribes family. And it says of the ribes, or ribus, I'm not sure how do you pronounce that. They are very firm with a tart flavor used in pies and jams when fully ripe, and currants that can be eaten underripe. They are very firm with a tart flavor used in pies and jams. When fully ripe in summer, the fruit is soft and quite sweet, delicious raw. Eat young and tender gooseberry leaves in salads. And you know, gooseberries have a thorn on them, most varieties. I think there's some, as a matter of fact, we're going to talk about one here in just a minute that has mainly thornless. It's called the Pixwell variety. But this, generally speaking, and I'm reading to you out of Plants for Your Food Forest from Plants for a Future publication. Varieties include the green-fruited Incicta, the red-fruited Whinham's Industry, these are all gooseberries, which tolerate heavy soil, and the Lavler, a yellow dessert fruit. And then also another type is the Jostaberry, which is a cross between ribes and culverwellii, which is a gooseberry and black currant hybrid rich in vitamin C. The unique flavor has gooseberry and blackberry or black currant overtones. When underripe, it tastes more like gooseberry and more like black currant when fully ripe. The fruit is rich in vitamin C. And I got this publication from, what is it? This Burgess's. And they talk about this Pixwell Gooseberry, and it says practically thornless. Pixwell has old-fashioned, unmatched flavor for pies and preserves. Fruit is easily picked, off 1 inch stems, well away from the small thorns. Grows 3 to 4 feet tall. Plant 4 foot apart in full or partial sun. Also an attractive ornamental. And zones 3 through 7. And then also another gooseberry is the red Colossal Gooseberry, also in the same Burgess catalog. This is their current catalog. The largest of all gooseberries, measuring up to 1.5 inches. Bushes reach 5 feet high and wide and will bear 10 quarts per plant. Red Colossal Gooseberry is very hardy, disease resistant, and will bear 1 year after planting in zones 4 through 7. So I'm just trying to learn all I can about different plants that can double up as food producing as well as grow in the shade. You know, blueberries, blackberries, and then these currants and raspberries will grow in the shade, but they'll produce less fruit generally if they don't have full sun. All right, but that's not a problem if it's holding the soil, and that's its main function. Anyway, I hope to get stuff planted along here that'll hold the soil. Practical forgiveness. Let's take a look at this, and don't forget your lesson today. God's peace and joy are mine, and let me be still and listen to the truth. Practical forgiveness. The practical application of the Holy Spirit's purpose is extremely simple, but it is unequivocal. In fact, in order to be simple, it must be unequivocal. The simple is merely what is easily understood, and for this it is apparent that it must be clear. Let's read that sentence again. The simple is merely what is easily understood, and for this it is apparent that it must be clear. The setting of the Holy Spirit's goal is general. Now He will work with you to make it specific, for application is specific. There are certain very specific guidelines He provides for any situation, but remember, that you do not yet realize their universal application. Therefore, it is essential at this point to use them in each situation separately until you can more safely look beyond each situation in an understanding far broader than you now possess. So he's going to give us a lot of wisdom so that we're going to be able to generalize this. But until we can generalize it, use forgiveness very specifically. In any situation in which you are uncertain, the first thing to consider very simply is, what do I want to come of this? What is it for? Okay, what do I want to come of this? What is it for? The clarification of the goal belongs at the beginning, for it is this which will determine the outcome. In the ego's procedure, this is reversed. The situation becomes the determiner of the outcome, which can be anything. The reason for this disorganized approach is evident. The ego does not know what it wants to come of it. It is aware of what it does not want, but only that. It has no positive goal at all. Has that been my reason why I a lot of times don't know what I want? Because I'm listening to the ego's voice instead of the Holy Spirit's? that you know, we probably all have had that, huh? Paragraph 59. Without a clear-cut positive goal set at the outset, the situation just seems to happen and makes no sense until it has already happened. Then you look back at it and try to piece together what it must have meant, and you will be wrong. Not only is your judgment in the past, but you have no idea what should happen. No goal was set with which to bring the means in line. And now the only judgment left to make is whether or not the ego likes it. Is it acceptable, or does it call for vengeance? The absence of a criterion for outcome set in advance makes understanding doubtful and evaluation impossible. The value of deciding in advance is paragraph 60. The value of deciding in advance what you want to happen is simply that you will perceive the situation as a means to make it happen. You will therefore make every effort to overlook what interferes with the accomplishment of your objective and concentrate on everything which helps you meet it. It is quite noticeable that this approach has brought you closer to the Holy Spirit's sorting out of truth and falsity. The true becomes what can be used to meet the goal. The false becomes the useless from this point of view. The situation now has meaning, but only because the goal has made it meaningful. Let's look at that paragraph once again. The value of deciding in advance that you want of what you want to happen is simply that you will perceive the situation as a means to make it happen. You will therefore make every effort to overlook what interferes with the accomplishment of your objective and concentrate on everything that helps you meet it. It is quite noticeable that this approach has brought you closer to the Holy Spirit's sorting out of truth and falsity. The truth becomes what can be used to meet the goal. The false becomes the useless from this point of view. The situation now has meaning, but only because the goal has made it meaningful. 61. The goal of truth has further special advantages. Okay, so he's saying, let our goal be truth, that we just want the truth. I think that's what I'm getting here. The goal of truth has further practical advantages. If the situation is used for truth and sanity, its outcome must be peace. And this is quite apart from what the outcome is. And this is quite apart from what the outcome is. If peace is the condition of truth and sanity, and cannot be without them, where peace is, they must be. Truth and sanity and peace all go together. Truth comes of itself. If you experience peace, it is because the truth has come to you, and you will see the outcome truly, for deception cannot prevail against you. And you will recognize the outcome because you are at peace. Here again you see the opposite of the ego's way of looking. For the ego believes the situation brings the experience. The Holy Spirit knows that the situation is as the goal determines it, and is experienced according to the goal. Oh, do we want to keep reading or should we stop there? Let's go ahead and keep reading. The goal of truth requires faith. The goal of truth requires faith. Faith is implicit in the acceptance of the Holy Spirit's purpose, and this faith is all-inclusive. Where the goal of truth is set, there faith must be. The Holy Spirit sees the situation as a whole. The goal establishes the fact that everyone involved in it will play his part in its accomplishment. This is inevitable. No one will fail in anything. This seems to ask for faith beyond you and beyond what you can give. Yet this is so only from the viewpoint of the ego. For the ego believes in solving conflict through fragmentation and does not perceive the situation as a whole. Therefore, it seeks to split off segments of the situation and deal with them separately, for it has faith in separation and not in wholeness. 63. Confronted with any aspect of the situation that seems to be difficult, the ego will attempt to take this aspect elsewhere and resolve it there. And it will seem to be successful because that this attempt conflicts with unity and must obscure the goal of truth. And it will seem to be successful, except that this attempt conflicts with unity and must obscure the goal of truth. No, we want truth. We want truth. So we don't want to separate something off so we can get an answer. We want it to happily be part of whatever is and let the truth be known of itself. And peace will not be experienced except in fantasy. That's if you try to separate off something to understand it without the whole. Truth has not come because faith has been denied, being withheld from where it rightfully belonged. Thus do you lose the understanding of the situation the goal of truth would bring. For fantasy solutions bring out the illusion of experience, and the illusion of peace is not the condition in which the truth can enter. 64. And this will be the last paragraph we'll read. The substitutes for aspects of the situation are the witnesses to your lack of faith. The substitutes for aspects of the situation are the witnesses to your lack of faith. They demonstrate that you did not believe that the situation and the problem were in the same place. Remember one of our lessons? Let me recognize the problem was our first lesson, and then our next lesson after that was let me recognize the problem has been solved. Okay, so here he's saying that we're going to set the goal of truth, and once we've done that, it says the substitutes for aspects of the situation are the witnesses to your lack of faith. They demonstrate that you did not believe that the situation and the problem were in the same place. The problem was the lack of faith, and it is this you demonstrate when you remove it from its source and place it elsewhere. As a result, you do not see the problem. Had you not lacked the faith it could be solved, the problem would be gone. And the situation would have been meaningful to you because the interference in the way of understanding would have been removed. To remove the problem elsewhere is to keep it, for you remove yourself from it and make it unsolvable. Wow. Okay, well that's tomorrow we'll start off with the need for faith. And we can see how we needed faith in the situation we came to. We couldn't see love. We couldn't see truth. We couldn't feel peace. And we thought we needed to dissociate something from the whole in order to get an answer. And all the while, all they called on was just a little more willingness to believe that God could take care of the problem. All right, so that's what we want to do, is just let God take care of our problems, knowing that the answer is always with the problem, and it's here now. Okay, thank you so much for joining me down here on this creek bank. And until tomorrow, God's peace and joy are mine. Let me be still and listen to the truth. God's peace and joy are yours. God's peace and joy are mine. Let me remember love is happiness and nothing else brings joy. And so I choose to entertain no substitute for love. I seek but what belongs to me in truth. Love is my heritage and with it joy. These are the gifts my Father gave to me. I would accept all that is mine in truth. God being love. What, did I read the wrong? I did, I'm sorry. God's peace and joy are mine, and let me be still and listen to the truth. Yesterday was so similar. God being love is also happiness, and I seek but what belongs to me in truth. But today, God's peace and joy are mine. Let me be still and listen to the truth. Today I will accept God's peace and joy in glad exchange for all the substitutes which I have made for happiness and peace. And then under let me be still and listen to the truth one more time. Let mine own feeble voice be still, and let me hear the mighty voice of truth itself assure me that I am God's perfect Son. And all of heaven opens up to us when we can accept that. So until tomorrow, God's peace and joy are mine. Let me be still and listen to the truth.